Some words that stand out.
Bravery.
Bravery. He used that several times. Bravery. What was this about? Massachusetts 54th. He repeated that several times. What was the Massachusetts 54th? First black regiment in the Civil War. What movie were they highlighted in?
Glory.
Glory. Great movie. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it. It's at once a moving film and a great action film. So, highly recommend it. What are some of the things that he used that were very concrete? What's standing in Massachusetts in memory of the Massachusetts 54th?
Statue.
How big is the statue? Giant statue? What do you say, Hannah? Small statue. You notice how efficiently he did it. He didn't have to tell us a small statue of only 3 feet in height. All he had to say was a small statue. How small is small, Jordan?
Smaller than me.
Smaller than you. How small is small, Trey? Smaller than me. See, we make it smaller than us. If it's smaller than life size, it's small. A small statue. Could this be a statue of about 7 or 8 feet tall? It'd still be a small statue?
Compared to other statues.
Yeah, compared to other statues, but we compare to us. So a small statue, we're going to think smaller than I am. So maybe something this high. Just a little centotaph, a little minor. All right. Use vivid language. Again, you can't use vivid language if you do not get to your language until, come on, back to reading. Note on inclusive language, please check this out. I will hold you accountable for this. Just be inclusive, be as inclusive as you can be. This first speech, this will be a very minor point, it'll just be a note. After this, if you mean all humanity, don't use he. You don't have to go too far to find something that works. He/she sort of works. It's a little clumsy. They can work. Humans can work. Watch it. Don't, you'll get a note on this one. Next time, it's points. Ageism, avoid sexism, avoid stereotyping. Use the names that groups use to identify themselves. Okay. It's the end of the chapter. We'll go on to chapter 13, which is delivery. Delivery has a lot of good stuff. But here's what I want to emphasize with you. Look at us. Don't look at your paper the whole time. Don't look at your note cards. Don't read your note cards. Look at us. You're not communicating with the paper, you're communicating with us. Okay? So look at us. Now, many of us will have nerves on this one because we haven't been through a speech with me before, because you don't know how I'm going to grade. I'm going to show you how I'm going to grade, but you still don't quite know. How hard will I be? And I will explain that to you. But you're going to be nervous. You can diminish your nerves by being well practiced. You will still have nerves, and that's good. If you had no nerves, if you weren't at all nervous, you wouldn't bring any energy to the speech. Nerves will help you bring energy. Use that energy. Practice will help keep your nerves under control. But you will also find that the best practice phrase in your head may go out of your head and never come out of your mouth. I won't know what that phrase was supposed to be. Because I'm not asking you to give me a manuscript of your speech. I've asked you for a preparation outline. It's a little different. I have some idea of what some of you are going to say, but I don't have the exact words. You should have those. And if it goes out of your head and you do it, it just doesn't come out, don't worry about it. I don't know and nobody else does either. Okay? All right, so the other thing I want you to do is I want you to avoid vocalized pauses. Vocalized pauses are signals to the audience, I don't know what I'm going to say next, and I have to think about it. And vocalized pauses are usually the word or for your generation, the word and has become a vocalized pause. In a senior presentation, this senior did not get a good grade on her presentation, her senior presentation. In a senior presentation of 20 minutes, one senior communication and psychology major used the word and as a vocalized pause 131 times. That was extremely annoying. You probably won't be able to get rid of all vocalized pauses. And that's okay. Minimize the vocalized pauses. If you have 3 to 5 in this, you're doing great. But work on it so that you have very few vocalized pauses. Now I promised you, I went over the you notice that I have to stop talking when I'm typing in a password? I promised you that I would tell you how I'm going to grade. This is our last class session before we start to grade. So I will show you where the grade rubric is and how I'm going to use it. I maybe show you. Here in the practice, you have a rubric. Let's see if I can show it to you here. Well, obviously, let's see what this, no, that's not going to give it to me. Well, I can't show you the rubric. The rubric is on our front page. Well, here it is, finally. Under handouts, rubrics, here's the informative rubric and score sheet. So this is what I'm going to be looking for. In the introduction, you have an attention grabber. You preview your main points. So if you have 2 points, I hear 2 things that you're going to talk about. You give the central idea. You've written a central idea, so you have to put this into the speech. You state it, and you transition to your first major point. In other words, you say, and now let's turn to. The central idea is so important that I give you double points. Here, if it's there, you get all 5 points on the introduction. If it's there, you also get 5 points if the central idea fits the kind of speaking you're doing. And I've counseled several of you saying you're going too far towards persuasive on the Kenya speech. I said it's a great idea. Don't be quite as persuasive. Work more on being informative, and I gave some ideas on where to go with that. But central idea is appropriate. Central idea is given, but it's not clear. Nobody knows exactly what your central point is. It's there, we kind of guess, you get 1 point, but it's not even there, you get no points on that. So that's twice, that's how important it is. Your body structure uses one of the common patterns, so you want to look at speaking to inform. It gives you common patterns. You use one of those. There really aren't that many ways you can speak to inform. You're going to speak topically, chronologically, or spatially. That's really about it. That's about it in an informative speech. You have more variety in persuasive speaking. You have a good conclusion. You review what you've done and you come to an end. You don't just run out of steam. You actually have a conclusion. It's be about 30 seconds long. You review. Today I've talked to you about the need to know about steroids, anabolic steroids, by telling you about what they are, how they function in your body, and what roid rage is. Having this information is important because, as Lance Armstrong told us, if I had it to do over, I wouldn't do this. Okay? Conclusion. Your delivery, you're poised and effect and positive. You have great variety. You don't have a lot of vocalized pauses, etc. Your research. You have substantial research from scholarly and popular journals. You cited correctly. Remember, we went over citing it. You cited correctly in the speech. The credibility. The sources are credible. If you haven't cited your sources, I don't know if you've done the research. Yes, you've given me a work cited, but I don't know if you've actually done the research. So you've got to cite it in your speech. If you haven't cited your sources, I can't judge if they're credible sources, can I? There's 10 points just on research. This is important to me. Should be important to you. Your language. You use vivid language. You are aware of connotation and denotation. You use concrete language. You give us good stuff that we can understand. You use language that we can understand. If you have a scientific topic, you don't give us the science up here. You give us what we can understand. There's a great example in Lucas of the difference between mumps. Everybody knows what mumps is, right? And its scientific name. Or herpes. What's herpes? What is herpes? It's a dread disease you don't want to catch, right? Because it's sexually transmitted. Except it's not. What's herpes? You've all had it. Or you had, well, herpes, yeah, cold sores can be caused by herpes. What else? The measles. The measles. You've either had a vaccine or you've had the disease. Measles is a form of herpes. So it's a sexually transmitted disease. You see the audience. You know what we know. You transition from one point to another. Your topic is appropriate. Every one of you now should be working on an appropriate topic because you've heard back from me. And I haven't said to you, if I've said to you, well, you can't do this, then you've changed and you've let me know. Every one of you now has filed those topics. You've gotten feedback from me. You know what's appropriate and what's not. So every one of you should score those points. Now, how rough am I going to be? You are beginning speakers. This is the standard that follows you throughout your speaking career. I will not apply this standard the way I would apply it to a senior speaker, but I will apply it. In other words, you may, if you do all these things behaviorally, you'll score 5s. But if you were a senior speaker, I expect more than just do them mechanically. For you guys, if you do them mechanically, that's fine. Because you're just experimenting. You're just starting. Later, I'll expect more from you. And in your second speech, I'll expect more than I do in your first. So I will be more strict on the interpretation of what I want as we go along. This one, give me what I want even if it's mechanical. Even if you're speaking as your language is a little mechanical, that's okay. Not quite right, that's okay. You'll learn. All right? So, it's time to break. Go have a great holiday. Practice, practice, practice.